How you doing? I'm Nephi. This is Nephi Films It. Welcome to today's video on getting started in Final Cut Pro. Today we're going to be doing an editing video showing you how to import footage, edit that footage, and then export the footage in Final Cut Pro. This is meant for people who are beginners, just getting acquainted with Final Cut Pro. So if you fall into that category, let's get started. Let's launch Final Cut Pro. So it opened up. First off, it's going to pop open with a window asking you, it may or may not ask you this, depending on if you have already opened Final Cut and have a library already. But for me, we're just going to start here. Now, the first thing to know is that when you click on New Library, the thing you want to do is understand where Final Cut is going to save this. This library is going to house all of the media that you're importing into Final Cut Pro to use to edit your videos is all going to be stored in this library. You can set it up so it stores outside of the library, but I recommend keeping it in the library. So the first thing you're going to do is title it. So I'm just going to call this New Project. And I actually have a project that I'm going to be working on that's going to be called Matt and Josh. Let's go ahead and save that. Now I know that this is going to be into a folder called Syncing Audio. I don't want it in there. Now Final Cut, when you first open it up, it's going to have you save all your files into the movies. I don't like to save my files there. I like to create my own folder structure. So I'll just put this on the desktop under Matt and Josh. I'm going to create a new folder, call the same thing, Matt and Josh. Create that folder, and now this project, my new library, new project, is going to be called Matt and Josh. So, all right, so once you've created your new project, this new library, here are some terms you're going to need to learn for Final Cut Pro. So this is called a library, this icon with 4 little stars. And essentially this library is where all of your footage is stored for the library that you have existed. Now I like to generate new libraries for each project I'm working on, which can be confusing when talking about Final Cut because within each library there's an event, and in each event there's a project. So you've got like new project down here. I just call these libraries are the video that I'm trying to produce at the time. So this video is for Matt and Josh. They are real estate agents, and then this is where all of their footage will be placed into. That is today's date. You can rename this whatever you want, and let's say I've got several videos that I want to work on for Matt and Josh. Like on one thing, I can create new events. So I can just right click and click new event, and then it'll add a new event, and I just retitle it whatever I want here. But for this one, I'm just going to keep it under this event, and then inside this event is where I'm going to store footage. Now if I had multiple events and I wanted to see all of the footage from all of those events, I could click on the library and it would show all of the video files in this panel. For now, we're going to be working on one project. So this is that one. And I want to import media. Click right here. So it's telling me where these files are coming from. I have a memory card inserted into my computer. And so it's going to come from my memory card, EOS Digital. It's showing me what's on that memory card here. And then it's showing me that it's going to take these files from my memory card and move them into the 1721 event. And I want those to copy to the library. Now, if you had this on a hard drive and you wanted just to leave the files on a hard drive, you would click here and then you could do that. Me, I'd prefer to just copy them to the library, and then I know that they're in the library. Right here, you could do all of these different things. You could balance color, find people, create optimized media, create proxy media. I don't ever do any of this stuff because if I want to do this later, I can do this later. So I don't want any of this done automatically. It's going to just take longer, and then it's going to apply it to everything, even though I may not be using it for everything. So click Import All, and it'll move everything over. And I just leave this one, close this window after starting import, just so I don't have to deal with that later. Now the footage is moving from my memory card into my library. So now you can see that I've got this clicked on here. You can see my footage in here. Now what it's showing me, the reason that this is one clip right here, and I prefer to see these clips as just one thumbnail, not like a big long strip. So if you click here, you can resize that. So it's showing me every 30 seconds, it's showing me a new frame. I just want it to show me one frame. And then if I want to adjust the size of those thumbnails, I can do that here. And then you can adjust how it's sorted and grouped here. Not worried about that. So these files here will take a little longer to import, so we'll go ahead and just skip through that until it's imported. All right, so once it's done importing, Final Cut Pro will ask you if you want to just eject the memory card or your media or drive or whatever it's importing from. I'm going to eject that, and I've got some audio files that I want to import into here as well. So we'll just go ahead and, so now that little click to import icon is gone because I've already clicked on it. Now if I want to import footage, I can click here to import. I can also go File, and then I can go to Import Media, or I can just push Command I, and that'll allow me to import. Now I'm importing this from another memory card called F1 SD, and there's one file in there. I'm going to go ahead and import that. That should be pretty quick. In fact, I think it's already done. Now it's just generating the waveforms for the audio. And then now it's done. Now we'll go ahead and click import again. I'm going to eject that memory card because on another memory card, also titled F1 SD, I will have some more audio files. And that should pop up. One more file. I'm going to import that one. And these two different audio files are just from microphones that I've got on each of these people, both Josh and Matt. All right, so now we've got all our footage imported. So it's all here. So we've got our audio files and our video files. And now we just want to create a new project. You can just go right down here and just click New Project. And what it's going to do is ask you how you want your project set up, what's your frame rate and everything like that. Now, if you're just getting started with video and you don't know what to do, all you need to do is click Use Automatic Settings. But for me, I really like specific settings. Now, I shot this footage in 59.94, which means about 60 frames per second. I want the project to actually be 23 frames per second. And why I'm doing that is because that'll allow me to slow down footage that I've shot at 59 frames per second to about 40% or slow motion. So now I've got a built-in way to create some slow motion. It'll change some things in the way I shot it, but this is just the way I prefer to set up my projects. It's going to be set up in the event 1721, and the starting time code will be zeros, which is perfect. I want this video format to be 1080p HD. You can change it to whatever you shot in. If you want it to be 4K, you can switch it to 4K. I shot this in 1080p, so I'm keeping it 1080p. If you shot it in 4K and you wanted to export it in 1080p, you can do it like that, or you can edit it in 4K and then export it in 1080p, however you want to do that. You could be shooting it in 720. Anyway, just choose how you want this. You can also choose vertical video and square video. So if you're using it for social media, or you shot your footage, vertically, you'll want to change that. So this is my resolution, and this is the codec that I want it to render in. I like this codec. It's a really clean codec. And then these codecs get really, these codecs can get very large. I prefer this, these codecs can get very large. These are a little smaller, but I really like this one as my main codec. You can change that later too. It's not a big deal. And then I want my audio set up. This is just kind of standard. Click, you want to name your project, Matt and Josh. Click OK. All right, so now you're set up. You've got a project here. You can start dropping your footage in. You can do that by just clicking on the file you want and scrolling through it by pushing play, finding the part of the video that you want to do. So let's choose this guy right here. So I want to see him typing. Let's say I want to see him typing first. So I push play. So in order to push play on one of these clips, you click on it, and then you can push up or down. Will move you through each clip. If you push the space bar, it'll play the clip. And then if you push J, it'll rewind the clip. And then you can push K to stop, K to play, or sorry, space bar to play. K will stop. Space bar will also stop. So if you want to use J and L, J rewinds, L forward. And if you push it twice, if you push either of those, J twice, it'll rewind faster. And if you just keep pushing it, it'll go faster and faster and faster. Then if you wanted to push fast forward, then you just click on the L button. So those are your rewind and fast forward sort of buttons. Space bar is your play. K can stop, is your stop button. If you're in between J and L and you want to stop real quick, you just hit the K button if you can't remember to hit the space bar. So, okay, so let's choose some spots that I want to use. So I want to see him transition from the mouse to the keyboard. So I'm going to start right here. I'm going to push I to set an in point. That's where I want my footage to start. Push play, and then I want my footage to stop here. So I just push the space bar and push the O button for out. So I used I for in, O for out. That's where I want it to end. And then I want to take this footage and then move it down into the timeline. And I can do that by either grabbing it and pulling it down, or if I'm wanting it to just go to the next available spot in the timeline, then I can just push E and it'll automatically do that. Now I actually pushed E twice, so it put one clip and then put the next clip. So I'll go ahead and just click that and delete it. Okay, so I want to go from that to now him being on the phone. And so I'll find a place that I want it to start. Actually, you know what? I'm going to switch the angle. I'm going to go to this shot of him on the phone. And he smiles here in a second. I don't remember that. So I'm just scrolling through with my mouse. You can do that because I know where something is. Or you can push play. So he's kind of smirking there. I like that. So I pushed stop, spacebar, and then I'm going to push my I button in. And then I'm going to push my out button there. I'm going to drop that in at the end. So I want to push E. And it'll automatically drop it in now. So it's already started to kind of cut together some footage here. So he's keyboard, then he's on this cell phone. Actually, so he's looking up when I first started looking at him. I don't want that. So I'm going to cut that off. I can either grab it right here and pull it towards the timeline, or I'm going to push Command Z and that'll undo that. I can just wait and then push stop and then Alt left bracket and it'll cut off everything else before that. So anyway, that's how you start moving clips in and out, and then you can start cutting things together. So he's there and then I want him on the phone still, and then he's going to kind of transition back to his computer. So I've set an in point for that footage and then back up, set an out point and E. So I've now got 3 clips in there, and it goes from him working on the computer to now he's talking on the phone, and now he's working on the computer while talking on the phone. That's great. Now if I wanted to export this video that I just created of this guy talking on the, let's talk about slow motion real quick. So maybe I want this all to be in slow motion. I just select all of it and then click on this little time indicator and just put automatic speed. Because I shot this in 59 frames per second, it's automatically going to adjust it. However, I could click slow by 50%. However, I just prefer to click automatic speed, and then it adjusted it for me. And then, so now it's slow motion, really nice footage, honestly. Looks good. Now there's a lot more I could do to this footage in Final Cut, which makes it kind of cool. I could go in and add music. So if I wanted to add music, click on this little icon up here and go to my music. Now I have a playlist that's just a bunch of, what's it called? Royalty-free music that I have rights to. So, and that's just a website called Artlist. You pay for a subscription to it, and then, so Artlist, clicked on that. Now everything that's in my Artlists folder. Now I have a whole bunch of more of the music that I can download. This is just music I've downloaded and kind of saved in the library. And I'll click on this one, turn up the volume so you can hear it. Okay, perfect. That sounds great. I want to just drop that in, so I'm going to push. So I don't want this to come to the end of the clip. I want it to drop below it in the audio section. So I'm going to push Q. And what that's done is that's attached it underneath. See, it's got a little attachment point right here. If I wanted to move that attachment point for some reason, like if I wanted to move this clip, but I didn't want to move the music, so if I adjust if I adjust that, the music's getting cut off. I don't want the music to necessarily get cut off. I can move that right there, and then, yeah, so then the adjustment will be able to happen. So if I wanted to cut this part off, now when I move it, it's going to adjust with if I'm timing my music, that's very helpful. Let's just say that. So all I did to move where it's connected is push Option, Command, and then I clicked on the music section. Now, one thing I don't like is hearing audio while I'm scrolling through, and that's just controlled right here. So I don't like doing it. Now it won't play like that. If I wanted to turn the scroll off of the video, see right now it scrolls through the video as I mouse over it. If I didn't want that, I can click on that and it'll, I don't know why it's still doing it. It's not supposed to. Oh, actually it's, yeah, that's what there. So that's, if I scroll directly over it, it's gonna mouse through it no matter what. But if I go up above it, and then click on this, it's not going to scroll through. It'll also do the same thing here. If I'm scrolling over it here, it's not going to show me those files. If I've got it like this, see how I'm scrolling through it. Now if I switch it back on, it'll scroll through the footage. Okay. All right, so I've got my music. I want to cut this audio out. Now I don't want to hear any of the camera audio because right now it's picking up some of the camera audio. There was like a click and some other stuff. I don't want that. I can either just pull the volume down or I can detach the audio, Control Shift S, and that'll remove the audio like that, and then I can just completely delete it. Or if I know that I don't want to hear the camera audio at all when I bring it in, I can just push Shift 2, and from now on, anytime after I've pushed Shift 2, if I push E and drop a clip at the end, it automatically brings it in with no audio. Now I'm going to undo that. Now if I wanted just the audio from here, I could push Shift 3, and no matter what I do now, it's only going to bring audio down. So if I just pushed E and it dropped it right here, it's only going to bring the audio. I'm going to push Command Z. Now I want audio and video. I push Shift 1, and it'll bring audio and video down here. Now, it's important to know that once you've clicked Shift 1 or Shift 2 or Shift 3, everything you do after that, every time you bring footage down, it's going to affect every clip you bring after that. So just remember, if you only want audio, Shift 3. If you only want video, Shift 2. And if you want both, Shift 1. Now, let's say I brought in the clip and I actually do want the audio. I could right click on it and then go to Reveal in Browser, and then it'll actually just show me where I've selected that clip here. And then I could go to the beginning of it and then click Shift 1 and then hit Q, because I don't want this to go over. I want it to go right where this one's at. And that's the footage. However, remember, this is slowed down, So I do need to change the speed on this to automatic speed, and it'll cover that clip. And now you've got the audio and the video together. No, I don't want that. Okay, so now let's export this video. So we've got this guy in slow motion. He's typing, and there's beautiful music in the background. It's so nice. He's having a great conversation on the phone, and that's going to be the end of my video right there. Told a great story about a man on a phone doing work. Okay, so I'm going to cut the rest of this audio off. I can push Command B and that'll cut it, or I can go to right here. I can choose the type of tool I'm working with. And if I want to use the blade tool to cut, I can cut little sections off and then push and then switch back to this arrow, which is the select, and I can select things and delete them, click on different things and delete them. So anything that's in this main area is called the storyline. And then everything else is just an appendix of the storyline. So if you delete this file, because the audio is connected to this file, it will delete. Now, if I want to use that same tool and just move this thing right over here, my connection to this clip instead of this clip, I can just click delete and it'll just delete everything that's attached to that little clip. Now, if I don't want to do that, I just click delete here. Let's undo a bunch of this stuff so I can show you cleanly. My preferred method for cutting things off that I want to cut off everything to the right of here, I push Alt or Option right bracket. Everything, if I push right bracket, everything to the right of whatever I'm clicked on is going to be deleted. If I push Alt left bracket, then everything to the left of whatever I'm going to be wherever my playhead is will be deleted of the clip that's selected. So it'll cut off everything so if I push Alt right bracket, it's going to cut off everything to the right of wherever my playhead is, or if I'm on a clip, wherever my mouse is. So if I want to cut from the playhead to the right, I push Alt right bracket, it'll do that. I'm going to push Command Z to undo that. Now if I wanted to only keep the stuff on the right, I'd click cut off everything on the left, Alt left bracket, and then it just shifted everything down. And you notice the music shifted too, and that's because it's connected right here. Now if I didn't want that to happen and I wanted to do that, just reconnect it here, and then Alt left bracket. The music didn't shift, and but my clip did move down. Now I like this. Now in some other editors, like in Premiere, in the old Final Cut Pro, it would just leave a gap there. It would do a delete, but it wouldn't do a ripple delete. So this is called ripple delete. It's an automatic ripple delete, which basically everything down ripples to where it's supposed to be. Okay, so I don't have any I forget what they're called. They're like blank spots in the video. So I know I'm not going to have that if I'm cutting on my storyline. Okay, so I'm undoing that because I want this, and I want the music cut everything to the right. So I'm going to cut Alt right bracket, and then I want to create a fade out of the music, and I can just grab this little icon here. Now if I want to make these icons bigger, there's a little film strip right here. Click on it, and I can make these bigger. And right now it's showing me bigger video than audio. I want it to show me bigger audio, then I would click on these files. If I wanted to show me audio only, then I can click that. If I wanted to show me video only, click that. But I like this one. Now I'm going to fade, so I'm going to zoom in here. And to zoom in on things, you push Command plus. And that honestly works on every panel. So if I went here and clicked and zoomed in, I could do that. Now if I wanted to fill the whole screen as much as possible, I just push Shift Z. And then the same thing here, Shift Z. Now if I wanted this to be all timeline and not see any of this stuff other than the audio levels, then I click that. And if you don't see your audio levels, then you can push Command Shift 8, and that'll get those out. Command Shift 8 brings them back on. I prefer to have them on. So I've got this, and now I want to add a transition. Let's say I want this to fade. There's all my transition pieces right here. You can just kind of go through them, and they're categorized differently. So if you're doing 360 video, there's a bunch of 360 transitions, blurs, and everything like that. However, I just like some hard cuts on here, so I'm not good. And if I just want a simple crossfade, I can click on where I want the fade to be and push Command T, and that'll automatically create a dissolve. So I've got that. I don't want that, so I'm going to push Command Z. And then if I wanted to adjust how long that was, let's actually go back. If I wanted to adjust this, so I pushed on the whole clip and then push Command T, and then it'll create a transition between both the front and the back end of the clip. So if I click here and wanted to fade out, it's going to fade out now. So let's leave that on there, and I'll delete these other two. If I wanted to adjust how long it takes to delete, I just grab on the end of the clip and pull it, and it'll adjust my fade by doing that. So that's kind of nice. I'll leave this little transition out here. Oh, beautiful. Okay, now I want the music to also transition out. So I can either grab the fader and pull it. So that's a fader, so it's gonna automatically fade the music down. So here we go, it's starting to fade. Okay, so now it all faded all together. Now if I want to add text, so let's say I want to add text. Boom, click up here on the text. Titles, we'll go through, there's all these ones that you can have on here. I always just go straight to the custom. Also, every once in a while I'll use these ones just because they're a little more, lively or whatever. And you just push play on them. It shows you what they do. This one doesn't do anything. If there are, so like this one right here, okay, a really fun transition. So it's gonna do all these little sparkly effects. You can go through all these, figure out which one you like. I always just choose custom and then drop it in. Let's just say this is gonna be called Matt and Josh Go to Work, or Josh Does His Work. Josh Working. Okay, that's my beautiful text that I want to add there. Now let's say I want to customize it. I've got all the options right here for size and font and all these different options. So I've got tons of font options. Let's go with the American typewriter because he's working. And then if I want to change the size, I can change the size of the whole thing by just clicking on the clip. Now if I want to adjust the actual size of what's written, I can click up here. Now this is under the text. Now I have some other opportunities in here. There's a bunch of styles that you can use. Let's say I want to use heavy. So I chose only king, and now only king has been adjusted here. So we're king. So let's do, because he's the king of working. Ooh, look at that. Look what we did there. So Josh, we're king. Let's go ahead and change this one to that same style, heavy. And now we have Josh Working. And if we want to make we're smaller, let's say we just select that and we can make that smaller. Now let's say we want to adjust the spacing and all of it. Sometimes the tracking allows you to adjust. The reason it's not is because we're using two different fonts. Now, because it's not, if it's grayed out here, I can still adjust it here by just increasing it by 1%. So it's still going to allow me to do it. Spread those out just a bit. And then, okay, so I like this. This is going to be good. Now, maybe I actually want to put the Josh like right above the king or whatever like that. I can just separate these into two different files and then push Command B. So I've split this same title in half. I'm just going to extend the end of this title right underneath it and extend this title right to the end. And now I have the ability to just keep the Josh on this one and just keep the working on this one. Okay, so why would I do that? Now I can click on Josh and move Josh. And now there's a little cooler look to that. Now if I want to adjust where this is on the page, I can kind of just pull this here and center it, and then grab Josh and just pull it right there. So look, Josh is the king of working. Okay, that's kind of what I'm going for here. Boom. So we've got that. Now if I want to make these two combined, so I'm not dealing with two different clips, I just select both of them. Alt-G will connect them, make them a compound clip. Click enter. All right, so now these clips are joined together. Now if I move them, both of them will move, and I don't have to worry about them coming apart or moving around, shifting at all. And if I want to just add a little fade out at the end, so I'm going to click on the end of the clip, so this little red line pops up, and then I'm going to push Command T, and that's the transition, so it's going to fade out. That's just the one I have set up as my default transition. You can change that to any one that you want, but that's the one I like, so that's the one that comes standard. So it dissolved, and now we have our finished video. If you wanted to, you could go and add a little logo at the end or whatever you wanted to do, and you just import some new footage. If you wanted to throw a logo, here's a logo right here. I'll throw it at the end, and it'll transition to the logo and then end. Okay, there's your 30-second video that you cut together on Final Cut. And you even added some slow motion in there. We added some text, some music, a little bit of everything. So now you want to get this out and start sharing it. So what are you going to do? You're going to push Command E, and that's going to export it. Now, if you want a specific place to export this, then you want to say, click up here. This is the little share button, and there's a bunch of different options that you have. And if you don't see the one you're looking for, so let's say you wanted to upload it to YouTube. Okay, cool. There's one there for me for that. Well, click on that, and then you're going to go to the settings. Now look, it's going to export a video resolution of 640 by 360. That's annoying. So I'm going to fix that. I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to switch it to HD. Why would I ever want a video exported like that? Because it'll be faster, honestly. Now if you want to add in any export captions or anything, that you can do that as well. So the file that you're going to get now is going to be 26 seconds, 6 frames long, and 49.7 megabytes big. That looks about right. Now it's going to ask me where I want to put this. I'm going to put it right here on the desktop. I'm not going to put it in any folder. You could if you wanted to, but let's just say I want to put it right here on the desktop so it's easy for me to find. Click Save, and then it's going to start working. Now, you know how far along it is by this little icon right here. So if I just clicked on this icon and it popped up, and now it's showing me that it's sharing. And if you're exporting more than one file, there was a little arrow here. You could click on it, it'll show you what it's sharing. Okay, so it's successful. The share has been successful. Now let's check my desktop. Oh, there it is right there. Now we can just go to YouTube and upload that straight to YouTube. So that's Final Cut. I've walked you through creating a new library, importing footage, dropping footage into the timeline, manipulating that footage, and exporting it so that you can upload to YouTube. All right, if you found this video useful, please hit the like button. If you're looking forward to learning more about shooting and editing video, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next video.